Good evening. It's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com. Now, before I launch off into chatting away to you, I am going to check that this has gone live. So please bear with me. And in fact, it's only those of you who are the beautiful stalwarts that watch this on the recording that will be able to know that this has gone live anyway, and that I am doing this, because most people will join me a little bit afterwards. So, now then. This is on the recording. Oh, no. That's myself. No, right. Hello. Not distracted at all. So yes, I just spotted that there was something else I could be doing on Facebook Live that I didn't realize that I could be doing. But anyway, enough about that. Good evening. How are you? Do drop down and say hi as you join this evening's conversation, because it's always great to give people a shout out wherever you are. Now, I am going to do, I can't do it on here. Bear with me just for 1 second, because I'm going to do the thing that I invite you to do as well, which is either tag somebody in this post and give them an invite and say, look, this is on, come and watch it. Or do as I'm doing here on my phone. Oops, I can't work out which way to go. Is I'm sharing it on my other page. So come and join the conversation. Oops, I've put Coke. That's not quite what I meant, is it? So whilst I'm typing, good evening, Shelley. That is exactly what I was just about to say. Do please drop down and say hi, because as Shelley has just demonstrated, it lights me up to be able to say hi to people. As I say every single week, good evening, Deborah. That's not a name that I recognise, so welcome. I'm not sure if you watch the recordings or this is your first time live or first time joining in, but either way, it's lovely to have you here. As if you are a regular, if you've listened to more than one of these, then you'll know that very often I say that what's lovely by having people jump on and say hi like Shelley and Deborah have, that I always see it like I'm having a party at my house. And when people are coming into my house, no matter how busy I am when they first arrive, I still want to be able to go, oh, hi, Shelley. Oh, hi, Deborah. How are you doing? And catch up with you. So that's why I always like to be able to say, hi, Caroline, and love those when they drop in. And it's great to see who's here. And please don't wait. Hey, Jane, there's a name I haven't seen for a while. I hope you're well. For those of you that second, you're that Deborah. Good evening, Deborah. It's lovely to have you here. Yeah, I was talking to Sarah today about the Women's Recycling Alliance. I've lost my train of thought now. I've gone off thinking about speaking gigs. Back in the room, Wyman. So my invitation to you, whether you're watching this live now or whether you're watching this on the recording, is please do just drop in and say hi at any point, because even if you're typing on the recording, I still drop down and say hi and join in the conversation. Even if it's 2 days, a week later, whatever it may be, whenever you watch this, I will join in the conversation that you start. My starting it is being here and rabbling on. Your starting is tippy typing away. And please don't wait to be given the permission. Don't wait for me to ask you. I don't know where my brain is at the moment. Don't wait for me to ask you to type. You know, if you've got something, if you think, oh, that makes sense, or actually I've got an example here, or that doesn't make sense, or I'm not getting that, or I don't understand how that fits in, then just type away at any point, because it's always great. That's the whole point of these sessions, are for me to bring a topic to the table for us to have a discussion around. But if you don't join in the conversation, then it's a bit of a one-way discussion. And it is nice to have your input, your thoughts, and hear your challenges. Or even if, so the rules I kind of go by is, if something that I'm sharing is making sense, then give me some thumbs up and let me know that it's making sense. And if it's not making sense, then again, let me know. Let me know by saying, this isn't making sense, or by saying something such as, hey, Stephen, you're on the other one, so I'm trying to do both at the same time. This is going to be fun, having both of them going. Aha! It's going to be a good challenge for me, but I'll do what I can. So, yeah, don't wait to be invited. If something makes sense, give some thumbs up or some hearts. If it doesn't make sense, then rather, you see someone's demonstrating already. If it doesn't make sense, then rather than doing a sad face emoji or an angry face emoji, it's not because I'm really sensitive and I don't want those. It's more that I invite you to join in the conversation and say, no, I don't agree with that, or that doesn't fit with what's going on with me, or that's not making sense, whatever it may be. So my invitation, I'm going to reiterate, if I can speak that over and over again, that this is a conversation, and all I can do is bring a topic of conversation to the table from my perspective and the information and insights that I have at this moment in time. They could change tomorrow, they could change tonight through a conversation, who knows? But hopefully the information that I share will give you a starting point, if nothing else, especially if you're coming in at a very ground zero point of view. It'll give you a starting point, something solid of where you can work on where that is concerned. There's some other lovely names popping up that I'm not going to give you a shout out unless you do say hello. So do make sure that you drop down and say hello, because there's some people on here or sneaking in the background that I can see I haven't seen for ages. So do drop down and say hi. If you've not watched any of these before, then just to give you an overview of the purpose from my perspective is, when I first started out in personal development nearly 15 years ago now, I really didn't have very much money at all. And so therefore I went on a lot of free teleseminars at the time and went to a lot of free events to just soak up and to get myself out of a very dark place. And I always promised myself that no matter what I learned, if there was a forum or a way for me to be able to share that, then I would, to help other people get going until they're at a point that they can financially invest. I invest now every single month with my clients. So with my coach, I invest time with my clients. Good evening, Martin. How lovely to have you here as well. So yeah, so that's one of the main reasons why I do it. And it's my way of giving back. One of the things I want to reiterate, I don't think I've really said much on here, is that the tools that I share, the information that I share on here, you can only get value from it when you use it. If you don't use it, then it's these things are actually useless. They're of no value unless they're used. Unless they're charged up, plugged in, switched on, then they're not of any value at all where that's concerned. They're not of any value really unless they're being used. So make sure that you do take the time to use the tools, use the information that I'm sharing. And that's what I'm saying, at any point, join in and have a conversation about the topic. So as I said, I started really diving into the personal development probably about somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago. I'm not 100% sure or clearly when it first started, but I know my coaching side of it started about 15, 16 years ago. But what I noticed when I was training as a coach, and I know I've shared this before, when I was working with all the clients, is this confidence word kept coming up over and over again. A lot of people were saying how much that they wanted it, they needed it, they couldn't get on and do what they wanted to do without it, that the lack of it was causing problems, that they'd had a confidence crisis, etc., etc. And what I noticed through what I think are the amazing tools of a coaching conversation is that they seem to switch. They seem to, and as I dialogued it at the time, I could give them confidence, and they walked out of the room skipping and, all excited about that they were going to go and do what they were going to go and do, which is just fantastic. But then I would sit there and go, well, how can I have given them confidence and yet not feel it for myself? So I really started to look at the word and what it was, and this was my breakthrough really, and I cannot remember where I first read it. I have a sneaking suspicion that it was in a mind map book by a gentleman called Tony Buzan that I read 1,000 years ago, I think. And he said something along the lines of, he was talking about confidence and how confidence impacts people in various different ways and stops them from doing things. And I think if it was him that I first read it from, is that he stated it comes from the Latin confidere, two separate words, con and fidere. Now that literally translates to mean with, con means with, and fidere means trust. So when you're talking about confidence, what you're really talking about is trust. That's why in marketing materials, confidence is used so often, because what they're really saying is you can use our product with trust, or you can trust us to be able to serve, or you can trust us to be able to, that this product is going to do what we say it's going to do. But when you're talking about confidence for yourself, confidence therefore means, if we're talking about self-confidence, actually what we're really talking about is self-trust. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what's that got to do with confidence basics, really? And how does this actually apply to my daily life? Well, if I reflect back to people who, whenever the conversations, both when I first started out all those years ago and even now, when I ask people about confidence and their relationship to confidence, and those times when they, especially those times when they think that confidence is no longer there, what do you think? Here's a starter for 10. What do you think is going on for them at that moment in time? What do you think? And if you can relate it to yourself, what goes on for you? If you perceive, and type away, let me know, that's typing or typing, depending on what device you're on. What do you think what do you think is there when trust is not? What do you think is there if confidence is not? What do you think is going on? Because I know I have my view, and I'd love to know what your view is. And as I was saying earlier, for those of you who are watching this on the recording, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time and where you are when you're watching this. Again, type away, let me know, what do you think? If confidence isn't there, what do you think is there? What do you think is in place? Hi, Alyssa. You're over on the other one as well. So I'm dancing between two different pages at the moment, which is a novelty. So as no one, you might still be typing. I forget that there's a time delay on this, and I must remember that. But my thoughts are that when, and we're having had thousands of, think probably, conversations with people now around confidence and what is going on, is that I notice, you think it's fear, Shelley, thank you, is that what I notice that comes up over and over again, and often it gets dialogued as fear actually, is the opposite of trust, which is doubt. So if I think something's going to go wrong, I might say that I'm worried about that going wrong, and therefore I'm afraid of it going wrong. But I think it's also around us getting, being full of doubt that we can do what we say we're going to do, or that we doubt that other people are going to like us or love us or appreciate us, or we doubt our abilities or capabilities, etc., etc. So fear's a word that's coming up a lot. Thank you, Deborah. And also Jane is saying that fear took the place of confidence. So, and the unknown as well. And again, I think that's a key thing, is that the unknown is just something, obviously, that we don't know. And what our brains tend to do is it has this default thing of leaping to, well, therefore I won't be able to. I won't be able to deal with the unknown, cope with the unknown, be in the unknown, be with the discomfort of being in the unknown, etc., etc. So what we describe as fear a lot of the time is doubt. And actually, I'm going to make a note to myself, because I'm not sure if I've ever really done. I'll have to go back over the 127 videos. I need somebody to archive these for me at some point. Is I might do one on fear. I think I might have done one, but I don't know how in depth I've done it. But anyway, I shall have a look at that. So there was some thumbs going up. I don't know if what that was in relation to, but thank you anyway. So yeah, that's why for me, when we remember, if we hold on to that for the moment and just use that, whether you agree with me or not at this moment in time, if we just hold on to that, when you are in a place of doubt, you are therefore not going to be trusting yourself. And therefore, if you're not trusting yourself, you're going to experience what you might describe as a lack of confidence, or a confidence crises, etc., etc. And this, I can see, this shows up when people in the workplace, this shows up in relationships, this shows up across the board, absolutely across the board. And very often what people look at is that they then look at grasping to get a competency of the particular thing. So if it's an unknown thing, for example, they usually look to get a competency around it so that they can trust themselves, which that can be a good thing. But if we're not careful, that can then lead us into a loop of, I need to be qualified, or I need to have the skill, or I need to have the ability, or I need to have whatever it is. I need to acquire something before I can. And that kind of loop keeps going over and over again, which can stop a lot of people from taking opportunities. Does that make sense? Let me know if this is making sense. Caroline says, I do that a lot, fight or flight, fear with myself. Yeah, maybe I need to do one about that. Or, well, actually, before I carry on this conversation, let me just drop this one in here and see, for quick sake, give me a yes if you are interested in a one-day event. I'm looking at venues to do one-day events in York this year. I want to do them at the most, I want to do them in a nice, quirky place with lovely food for you, etc., etc. So just give me a yes. Don't do a thumbs up, actually, I'm doing that, but that's not going to help. Put a yes in the comment, or why if it makes it easier. But let me... thank you, Shelley, for saying that you can relate to that. But put a yes in the comments below if that is something that is of interest to you. And again, if you're watching it on the recording, that would be great to know, because before I start ploughing ahead, yes, Shelley said yes, with looking and booking at venues and things, I just wanted to gauge a bit of interest and see if people, because I haven't done them for a while, I'm sort of feeling the urge to start doing them again. And I was going to do them on different topics. And the reason I'm asking that is because I'm just thinking, actually, I could do a whole one on fear. Stephen says, I'm wondering if this fear or doubt is an English British thing of I'm not worthy, and doubt is a proof of worthiness, or worthlessness, maybe. It isn't actually a British thing, Stephen. It shows up in very different ways. It's a very good comment. It shows up in different ways for different people and in different cultures, but ultimately it's not a British thing at all. So yeah, it is something to bear in mind, having been in a number of different countries. And also there's a few conferences that I've spoken at in the last couple of years where the topic has been my workshop, The Truth About Confidence. And one of them, there was about, I think it was nearly 100 delegates in the room. And I think, at a guess, there were at least 25 different countries. And I didn't really have to change the content that much to make it to relate to everybody. So yeah, I can understand why you're saying that. But equally, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yes to event, easy on food, I'm on a diet again. Brilliant, thanks, Stephen. Now, who was that who just put that? Caroline, you're in Crewe. Crewe's not that far. Surely Crewe is not that far to come to York, but that's just me saying that. So for those of you who were lurking in the background, I can see you. Do say hi. It's lovely to be able to give you a shout out and say hi. So there are a few people that are interested in the event, so that's fantastic. So okay, so I will continue my search for venues, and I want to make them slightly different and quirky, so they'll be different to how I've done things before. But anyway, back on the confidence basics train. So yeah, so the reason why I personally believe that trust is the foundation for confidence is because that's the root origin of the word. And actually linking back, Stephen, to your comment about, is it a British thing? Up until now, I haven't yet found another word in another language that doesn't have roots back to the word trust. So much so, I spoke to a Belgian gentleman last year who, when we're talking about confidence, he says, because he speaks, I think he spoke 4 or 5 different languages, and he said he always gets confused in French because there's 2 different words. And he said one of them, and this was before I'd had the reveal about trust being connected to confidence, and he said one of them means confidence in the way I think you're talking about it, but the other one means self-trust. And I said, well, let me let you in on a secret, and just kind of gave him that background. And when I was speaking in Norway, I learned the Norwegian for confidence, which is selvtillit. And I apologize to any Norwegians for my pronunciation. But that word, which means confidence, literally translates as self-trust. And I had a number of people in the audience that then started saying, well, in my language, it's such and such, which means, and the roots back went to trust. So that to me is why I think trusting yourself is the basic. It really is the foundation. So I know that I used to doubt myself, and this is going to sound odd saying this out loud, and I'm not even sure if I've ever shared this with anybody. So keep it a secret, hey? Just you and the few other 100 people that watch these videos. I used to, I wouldn't even go into a pub on my own. I wouldn't ask waiters or waitresses if an order could be changed. I wouldn't flag up if something was awry, which can be a bit of a British thing. There are lots of situations. I've got so many different images, it's hard to actually pull them apart. But I've got so many different images that are whizzing through my head at this moment in time that are reminding me of the amount of things that I found really difficult to do. And my default was because I was saying, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Someone like me can't do that. I don't believe I can do that. But I wasn't necessarily hearing that conversation. All I was seeing was the challenge that I was having on the outside with how to deal with things. And when I understood that the root of confidence is self-trust, and that is the basics of what we need to, the foundation that you need to be building everything else on top of, is I started working on that. So trusting myself, but it's not about getting it right. It really isn't about getting it right. It's about having a go. You know, if you've heard me before, then you'll know that one of my favorite quotes is, confidence isn't about always being right. It's about not fearing to be wrong, by Pete McIntyre. When you have got that strong foundation of confidence, when you've got that strong foundation of trust, then you give yourself the permission to have a go. And it's okay if it goes wrong or if you make a mistake. You're giving yourself that opportunity to have a go and to learn. Now, I do recognise that there are situations, whether it's to do with filing your tax return, for those of you who are in the process of doing that, or if you're doing brain surgery, hopefully no one is in the process of doing that, I get that there are certain things that you really don't want to do wrong. However, once you've learned something, even to the high degree of brain surgery, once you've learned that, then you surely have to trust yourself every day when you're going in to fiddle with somebody's brain and do things. You've got to trust yourself, trust the decisions that you make, knowing that you will make a mistake, or you will make mistakes, whichever one, because you're human. And unfortunately, that's what happens. That is life. We can't get things perfect. And if you're somebody who struggles with that, then please, seriously, give me a call. Is this making sense? Are people getting what I'm sharing with you here? Yes? Give me some thumbs up and let me know. So I can appreciate that very often people, and I say people because clients, delegates, it's people I get into conversation with about this topic, that what I notice is that very often people want to go from, there was hearts and thumbs and things going then, but I wasn't kind of catching the tail end. So thank you. That very often, especially when they're looking at something like this, they're in a lot of discomfort, they're in a lot of upset or struggle or suffering or fear, and the brain always wants to get a little bit away from that. It doesn't like pain, so it's a pain avoidance mechanism, so it wants to get away from that pain, and it wants to get as far away, or so we think, as possible. And very often what it will do is like, okay, well, I've got the trust thing, now give me the next thing. How do I do the next thing? How do I do the next thing? And it's looking over and over and over again to build on and give me the next tools. Honestly, stick with trust. And actually, more importantly, or hang on a second, there's a few comments coming up. Shelley said, I used to struggle going into a room full of strangers and even having a conversation with a person I didn't know. But once I began to trust myself, it all changed. I now look back and wonder what I ever feared. Absolutely. Absolutely, Shelley. That was me. So I just said, you know, look, it's about looking at trust, but more importantly, this is the crux of it. And for anyone who hasn't stuck to the end of this video, this is because this is the point that you need to look at, really, is that, oh, let me just check, there's some things flipping on the other page. Yes, following your drift. Thank you very much, Stephen. That's awesome. So the thing that is, I think, even more important than desperately looking to trust yourself is actually starting to challenge, how are you doubting yourself? Not why are you doubting yourself, because whenever you ask a why question, your brain's going to give you a reason and justify its behavior. So it's like imagine it's like a toddler or a teenager that, you know, you can see that they're covered in makeup and you go, well, why have you done that? And they will justify to the cows come home, or give you reasons, or make excuses, or blame other people or whatever as to why they've done it. And our brains work exactly the same way. Your brain, my brain, everyone's brain, because that's how they've evolved the thinking brain anyway to work. So it's more important for you to actually look at, okay, how am I doubting myself? How am I doing that? Let me really hear how I'm doing that. Because when you can get the clarity around that, then that's going to give you the opportunity to start to see that it's your brain, it's your thinking, it's the way that your brain is working that is creating the lack of confidence, is creating the confidence crisis or the confidence knock. And once your brain can genuinely start to see that, then you can take a step away and things can be very different for you. So I'm hoping, does that all make sense? Because as ever, I've run out of time. I've got like 2 minutes left. Not that anything's going to explode or anything, but I always like to set myself a deadline of it only being half an hour long, and that's not always the easy case. So let me know, as I'm wrapping up, what is your one takeaway from this evening? What has springed? What has popped up for you? What has sprung into your mind? Or what are you going to take away from the conversation? Because for me, one of the things that I always find really helpful is to reflect. As a big thumbs up there from Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Is that it's really important to take some time to reflect, even at the end of your day. When I get into bed, I have a few moments of reflecting on the day and reflecting on what I'm grateful for and what I've learned and how I can do things differently the next day if I chose to, and all of that kind of thing. And I think that even in these brief interludes and these brief conversations, the whole purpose is to give you something to think about, and hopefully that will percolate, plant some seeds, give you those thoughts, and here's a question for you that actually is on one of my, I haven't got them with me, either my business cards or on my postcards. And Deborah, you will know these because you definitely saw these at the talk I did, is what if, I'm trying to remember actually how it's worded. That's really funny. My brain's just gone and shut down. It's something like, what if trusting myself from deep within really could change my life, or something like that? Or what would trusting myself from deep within look like? Play with it. I wonder what it would be like if I trusted myself. I remember when I started out, thank you, Shelley. I know that when I started out as a speaker, for instance, and even started out as a coach, every single time I went in with a new client, I could hear this, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, it's not possible, who do I think I am, blah, 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 stuff going on. And once I really got to grips with this whole confidence, and this being the confidence basic, is that I stopped and I was like, okay, what if I would trust myself in this? What if I trusted myself to be able to listen and ask the right questions, or share information that could make a difference, but genuinely really trusting myself? I wonder what would that look like? I wonder what it would feel like for me to trust myself on a day-to-day basis. And that is the foundation that everything else can be built on. Does that make sense? So the Latin root, absolutely. That's exactly where I started right at the beginning, Martin. You probably didn't see that, but it's actually, if you take it back to the Latin, it's confidere. So con means with, and fidere means trust. So it means with trust. So yeah, absolutely what I was talking about right at the beginning. But as I said, I think you came in a little bit after that. So it's the foundation of confidence. That is what it's all about, is you building up that trust for yourself in order for you to be able to do the things that you really want to do in your life. So I'm hoping that you have found that of value this evening. If you have, please let me know by giving me some thumbs up, some hearts, show me some love. If you haven't, then don't get angry at me. I'm joking. Then let's have a conversation. Let's see where you're at and how that's not fitting for you. Either message me privately on here, or put it in the conversation box, or you can email me, jules@juleswyman.com. There's plenty of options for you there. And I did mention it last week. If you are genuinely interested in having one-to-one coaching with me, then I have 3 places left, 3 programs left for January, to start in January. They're 6-month programs, but you get the 7th month for free. So it's with my compliments. So if that is something that you are genuinely interested in, you really are ready to invest in yourself in that way, then please do email me, message me on here, jules@juleswyman.com, or message me direct on here, and let us have a chat about that. Oh, sorry, Martin, about that. I get that that's your takeaway. I apologize. I get that now. So, and Jane says, over time, I've come to accept and trust that sometimes I need to trust myself to say no to things, like meeting new people. It's not always, but it's important. I think I could do a whole thing on saying no. Maybe I need to do, maybe I'll put another one there, saying no. See, this is why your interactions are of value, because you know, that's 2 topics there that I can now go away and look at the schedule and go, okay, where can I put that in? So if you've got, again, I said I was going to finish 3 minutes ago, but I've got excited now, haven't I? If there are topics that you would like me to cover, then please do let me know. And for those of you who are still here, thank you. For those of you who are watching on the recording, thank you. Please do share and type your message in. The whole purpose is to make these free and get the message out there to support as many people as possible and start a real confidence revolution. And I would love you to be part of that. So give me some thumbs up, give me some love. And I look forward to catching up with you next week. And I haven't got my thing to hand to double check what the topic is, but it's the 21st next week. That's about all I can remember. But I will see you next week. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye now.